I'm down, whatever. Oh, and then there was that one.
Sorry.
Maybe you can clear for me eventually.
I knew if I was just non-compliant with the records right. Wow.
Okay. Call this meeting to order. It's a regular city council meeting for June the 17th, 2025. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll do a quick roll call acknowledging that council member Kennedy has already been excused. Councilmember Pritchard.
Present.
Councilmember Schaefer. Present. Councilmember Spears.
Present.
Councilmember Maxwell.
Here.
Councilmember Olson.
Present.
Councilmember Carbolt.
Here.
Mayor Terry Cooper. We're all present except for Councilmember Kennedy. Calling for the approval of the agenda, I do have one slight amendment that I would like to make, and that is we had a last minute version update under 9B, the municipal court agreement 25-758, that resolution. Each of you should have a copy of that. There are some minor changes, but we'll go over that here in a minute. But I would like to remove the one that's in and replace it with this, please.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Take a motion then to accept the agenda now as amended.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion there? All in favor? Thank you. Any nays? This is the opportunity then for interested citizen comments. We did receive one written comment. The subject being written comment for city council. So we have received that. There's nobody who has signed up. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to give us any public comments? Anyone online have any public comment? We also have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Last call, otherwise we'll move on. Okay, moving on. Announcements, proclamations, and special presentations. We don't have any tonight that I'm aware of. So we'll move on to our reports. Public safety report, we're flipping right along. If we have Chief Rohrbach here with Fire District 3, sir, if you'll come and give us the good news.
I don't know if it's all good news, but fire season is here. So just came off a fire. So if you smell smoke, probably me, but it's not in the building.
We have mailed it around. Do you know where? Can you tell us kind of where that's coming from?
You know, it depends on jet stream. So our neighbors to the north, you know, Canada's seeing a lot of big fires right now. We've had significant fires in the Dalles as well as central, you know, Ellensburg area. So I think we're starting to get smoke from all directions and probably indicative of what we may expect for the rest of the year. So both fires today resisted control much more so than we'd see probably typically mid-July conditions. So we're 3 to 4 weeks ahead of normal with record high grass. So I would say all the indices support a really challenging fire year, but as you know, I don't control the weather. So I don't know what happens for the weather for the remainder of the year will probably be the biggest determining factor in just how challenging it is. But record high grass, 3 to 4 weeks ahead of schedule, and once the grass is dead, you can't really re-water it and then bring it back. And so what we're seeing is live fuels right now transition to dead fuels, and so any of the higher exposed basalt, the cheatgrass is cured out, and the fires were moving today. So I think we're in for a really challenging wildfire year with the indices where they're at. We anticipate probably going to high fire danger later this week. We have to coordinate that with all the state and federal partners across the county, but indications are you'll see high fire danger, and that usually corresponds with some of our burn restrictions probably also coming on the on the heels of that. So I think we could anticipate county burn restrictions coming on pretty quickly as well, but no final date on that yet, but anticipatory later this week for fire danger, and then I would think the closures after that. But we will do a good job trying to put that out on our social media platforms and get that out to the community so they're aware. Call volume statistics, when we looked at last month, bit of anomaly for high call volume. Looked into that some to figure out we're sitting at 75, which normally we're in the 40 to 50 range, and we're there at 72 again. This month we have been able to narrow that down specifically to the DSHS facility and have been meeting with them to try and talk about that. But that is what we call a statistical anomaly right now, is not from City of Medical Lake itself, but associated with the DSHS facility. And again, this month that was almost 30 calls out of 72, so almost half the call volume. So if you were to pull that out, it puts us Medical Lake right where we think we'd be for historical.
Are those medical calls to DSHS? Is that what you're responding to mostly, or?
Some of, in this particular instance, the anomaly is one individual that has been overutilizing the 911 system, but it's very challenging for us. We have to treat every call like it's a valid emergency until we know otherwise. And so once that's triggered, it's a full response from us. So it's a bit of can be a bit of challenge, right? Because the alternative cost is that resource is not available now for actual emergencies, but you don't know when that person could have an actual emergency. So we have to treat every call as such. So we're working, DSHS is being great, trying to help us solve that, but that's what's going on. And some of those are also alarm calls, but the big piece is one individual.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. Questions for Chief Rohrbach? We appreciate.
Always thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate what you do, and we'll all say our prayers that somehow we will miss.
Yeah. It's always, the predictive side of it, we got all the, ingredients in place, but what the outcome will be. And we went a little more in depth for public safety, but, in some of other areas across the state, you can really say, well, it's maybe more weather dependent because their ignition sources are often lightning. And so you say, hey, what's the probability of lightning events?
Sure.
The challenge we have is we're over 95% human caused, some years 100%. In county, you're not going to remove the humans from the equation.
Sure.
So the likelihood of fire starts being at least average is very high. And so the real question is, what are the actual weather conditions on the days we have those conditions?
On the day the humans make their mistakes.
Yes, and it's not,
those weather
it's very
conditions.
rarely that it's gross negligence or malicious with intent to do harm. But again, just catalytic converters, maybe electrical cords, heat lamps, we see chains on high, all those things. The more people you put in that wildland environment.
Yeah.
We just have a lot of people, and the largest wildland urban interface in the state by like 10x anybody else. So we've got challenging fuel conditions. We know that we're probably going to get ignitions. So what type of weather conditions do we have in July and August? It's almost always hot and dry in July and August. So that's why I always really watch June. June is a really telling month for us because our fire danger is not driven by snowpack. We're high elevation. Snowpack can delay green up and delay fire season. For us, the snow comes off about the same time every year. Snow's not as much of an impact for Spokane County. So the rain's a blessing from a forest health standpoint, from a drought standpoint, from a high grass, though. We got some of the highest grass we've seen in a long time. And so once it dries out, so, the moisture is a good thing, but we've now got very challenging fuel conditions, and the grass is really what is the primary carrier of fire for us. So it's going to be a challenging year.
In our prayers and hope for the best. And glad that you're here to serve us, so thank you so much.
Yeah, sorry about the smoky smell.
Take care of that one. Thanks so much. Have a good night, Chief. Doesn't look like we have a report from the sheriff tonight, so we'll move on. Committee reports. Councilmember Pritchard.
They won't let me do committee reports anymore after last time, so that's fine. But I did go to an HCDAC meeting, which is the Housing Development and Community Development for the Spokane County. And most of the discussion that day was on the disaster recovery plans. There was the $44 million that was brought in to the county to help with that. And I was very sad to go through this whole action plan, which you can see on their website. It's the Housing and Community Development website on Spokane County. We walked through this plan, they talked about the money and how much is coming in, and then public input that came into the two previous public comment periods. One was in Medical Lake, and I feel horrible I couldn't make it. I had a family issue pop up. But they've talked about what everybody showed up. They said, oh, people's Medical Lake showed up and Silver Lake showed up. And this is what they talked about. And then at the very end of the report, it just goes to the action plan, which completely ignored everything that everybody talked about, and really just sort of talked about how the HUD money could actually be used throughout the entire county, as long as it somehow potentially helped people from wildfire disaster recovery, which means that they could potentially build a recovery center in Cheney or in Spokane Valley and completely ignore the requests that were made by Medical Lake and Elk. It was very, very sad. I talked quite a bit during the meeting. I would highly recommend, if anybody's interested, to go to the Housing and Community Development website, and I would email hcdinfo@SpokaneCounty.org. I would reach out personally to Kyle Tuig, who is the County Public Works Director, and is very intricate, very involved in this discussion. I would also highly recommend it. Reach out to senators, anybody that you know that says, hey, this money was given to the folks that underwent a wildfire, and that money's not going to them now. It's a very concerning issue. And I will keep being vocal as much as I can as your HCDAC member. And I hope there'll be more in the future here discussed even during this meeting. But that's $44 million being allocated in a very different way than I feel like it was meant to be.
I'm so grateful that you were there to hear that and to come and bring that report. And we do plan to compare notes and take a deep dive on that plan, and challenge those areas that do not align with the intent. And also, if you reach out to your federal delegation, you know, the community should really reach out to our federal delegates who all worked hard to get this award, and the intent being that it would go for the recovery. It's DR, disaster recovery, and that those dollars should go for the recovery of those impacted in Medical Lake and Elk, and not for county roads all over the place or low-income housing plopped in here, there, other places. But we had big needs, and our folks are still in recovery. So anyway, thank you, Councilmember Pritchard, for that. Anything else, sir?
No, that was the big one.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Schaefer.
Finance met tonight. We reviewed the normal claim warrants. It was a big one this time, but it's all explainable with the LaFay Street. So even though it looks big, it's a good one. So and that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember. Sirs.
Nothing to report you.
Oh, okay.
Just an update on the Complete Street project, which is the work being done on North LaFay. Yeah, the crews are finishing up the installation of trees and pedestrian lighting, and paving will be started on the 19th. So that project's wrapping up, and as that one's wrapping up, we're starting the work on Lake Street, which will be the ADA ramps, which they've started cutting into, and getting those up and running. Street crews have been doing repair potholes, and I'll get ready before the scrub seal, which will be done later on this summer. And water, the well levels look good for this time of year,
Nice.
so everything positive, and LaFay Street looks outstanding in my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Councilmember Wilson.
Yes, Your Honor. safety committee met tonight also, and Scott wasn't here tonight because he's over at Four Lakes conducting other business over there, so it's a good thing. And as Councilman Harville, yes, Maxwell mentioned, LaFay Street is continuing and paving's completed, and yay, perfect timing because the Founders Day coming up, so that's terrific.
They worked really hard to get that done on time, so grateful, yeah.
Trying to get the baskets hung, and I think Sonny's gonna address that issue a little bit, but that doesn't have anything to do with safety right there. Part of the project that was done. And also speed trailers are currently being charged and they'll be placed on South Hallett. And the hydrant flushing is still in progress, so watch out for the colored water, the brown and yellow. It's not hurting anything, but just making sure our water is going to be good. And a thank you to the EWU team for the water sampling, and the tests are the PFO for the PFO levels. At the wastewater treatment plant, nothing special to report, just the safety programs and are still underway, and they're giving tours with the safety equipment and education, and the stations are labeled for the tour identifications. So that's kind of a cool deal. And the fire district had a great report. That concludes my report, Your Honor.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Herbold.
Good evening, Your Honor. I attended the SRTC meeting for Councilmember Kennedy on Thursday. It was a pretty busy agenda. I'll skim through some of it. It was a 2-hour meeting and it was pretty in-depth. I was behind the 8 ball on a lot of it.
Apologies, but thank you for attending.
The board approved an amendment to the 2025 to 2028 TIP with the amendment to be incorporated in the statewide transportation program. A resolution was approved to adopt the Biennium Unified Planning Work Program funding agreement for 26-27 with authorization for the executive director to execute that. There was a guest presentation on STA's transit development plan. There was no information provided on that. And as far as handouts go, there was an update on the 2027 to 2029 call for projects for the $40 million that was available. And the projects, there were 44 applications that were received, and 13 of those were designated as preservation projects, and they've been scored and will be made available, results be made available. And then there was an update on the Horizon 2050 project bucket scenarios, which was essentially focusing on capital projects and needs and projects of regional significance. And if you want more detailed information, you want to drill down on that, when the minutes are published, you can go on their website. Hit it.
Thank you. Sounds like a heavy agenda. I'm glad that you were there. Thank you so much. Okay. I don't have a lot to report. We've been very busy, of course. On this end, please, like everybody, with the way the street is looking, the light poles are looking. I went for a walk last night, and every 2 blocks I ran into some, oh, hey, Mayor, let me just tell you. But I was so happy to do that because it was all positive. Thank you for putting the cameras in the parks. Thank you that the parks look so beautiful. Thank you for the poles and the, the street lamps and the sidewalks, and, pass that on to council and to staff, that they were just so appreciative, and it was all just positive, even conversations about the fireworks. So what should have been about maybe a 30-minute walk was a couple hours, but it was so nice because all the comments were so positive. So anyway, I credit staff and council for making all of the right decisions and the hard work. So that's all I really have. I know we have things to report. Sonny probably has a list, so I'll just let him take that, and then we can ask questions if you have any there.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. wanted to start off by just sharing congratulations to all the class of 2025 graduates. As that happened between our last meeting and now. And I'm encouraged by the resiliency and just the wisdom really of the youth today. So congratulations to them. Secondly, I want to say thank you for your participation and contribution to the City Council Strategic Planning Retreat. We got your inputs and we're going to put all those in the grinder and get them included in the great work that is to come, all related to the strategic plan and the upcoming capital improvement plan as well. LaFay Street Complete Streets ribbon cutting. So the project is coming to a close, which should be ready for us this weekend. So we are planning a ribbon cutting ceremony for that project. It will be Saturday morning, about 9:45, preceding the opening and the parade for Founders Day. So that's Saturday morning. You are all invited and encouraged to attend. It'll be a great opportunity for us to really highlight the great partners and contractors and funders and staff that have contributed to the delivery of that project. And I think it'll be very fitting to be able to cut the ribbon and then have a parade and enjoy a wonderful Founders Day. So hope you can make it. Founders Day Festival kickoff is Friday night, the 20th. And there's our first Linger at the Lake concert that will be starting at 8 p.m. that night. And fireworks display will follow that, depending on the weather conditions. So looking forward to that very much. And then Founders Day Festival, obviously on Saturday to follow. So hoping that the weather will hold out for us. Looks like maybe a nice safety blanket of clouds. We'll fight off the rain as best we can. But speaking of the CDBG DR funds, I just wanted to share one piece of information that is straight from the county award notification letter for those funds, where it says, and it says this on their website as well, that CDBG disaster recovery funds can only be spent to meet the recovery needs caused by the disasters specifically stated in the appropriation. The only disasters stated in the appropriation are the Gray Road and Oregon Road fires. So the county's desire to spend those dollars outside of fire burned areas seem completely inappropriate. And I would encourage your continued sentiments to be shared with our partners at the county so that they can hear that in no uncertain terms, that the intent of those dollars should be for fire recovery needs and not capital projects that around the county.
Councilmember Pritchard, if I could interrupt this for a moment. What is the comment period? You gave us that date.
I
The comment
apologize.
period is open until when?
The comment period is until July 14th.
Until July 14th.
And the action plan that they presented, and they'll present, I think, to the recovery group on Thursday, is also on the website underneath the disaster recovery.
Mhm.
And then George, gosh, I should,
Dahl.
he's so, Dahl, yes.
DAHL. Mhm.
Is the director of that group. So you
Okay.
can also reach out to him directly.
And then the city, working with Sunny and I, we're putting together some talking points so that we can help our community be prepared, just like we did for any other legislative agenda. This is what we need, and we're going to have to take that to the county legislation and say, I think we missed the mark here. Here's the intent, and this is what we're asking for. So we'll put together those talking points and share those also on our website and social media. However, we see as we're rolling that out, it's pretty fresh and new, but we do want to take the lead on that. So anyway, back to you, Mr. Weathers.
That's all I have to report unless there's any questions for me.
I was gonna report one thing, maybe this a little premature. We did have a meeting on the kitchen, so the work is continuing on the kitchen. With the intensity of the plumbing that will have to go in and the layers of concrete they have to go through, the cost of is increasing, and we may have to phase that in, and there may be some increased costs beyond the 305,000 that we had That was all ARPA dollars, so thankfully those are not taxpayer dollars directly. And so we're working hard to see how we can phase that in and still deliver on the commercial kitchen, so we can follow through with our goal of getting those folks to come out and try their wares here and help with the economic development plan. So anyway, we had a meeting and just wanted to give you a heads up. We will be bringing some information to you soon as we work through kind of the sticky points. So I don't know, Sunny, if you want to add anything more to that, but I just thought I'd give a little heads up that there's some
Yeah,
more to come
potential
on that.
price change, and yeah, we're working through the details now to find out what specifically we can do now and what makes sense for the future. We'll bring that back for consideration as soon as it's sorted out.
Since we didn't have the sheriff's report, it was a non-report anyway, basically, nothing new, so.
Right, yeah, and thanks for that. Sorry. Inspector Lundgren and his wife are expecting another child so their family's growing, their house is growing by 2 feet. And so he'll be out for the next foreseeable future, but we'll see him at the next public safety meeting in July. So
There was an accident on 902, but I don't have a lot of the details on that, but anyway, I was hoping to talk to him about that, but we'll let you know. We'll try to keep everyone up to date on what's going on with those things, but
We got a power pole.
yeah, it looked like it was, had some significance, but I don't have any details on that, so I apologize. I did have someone reach out to me before the meeting and ask about what I knew, and said only that it was on Facebook, and it happened, and there was a pole and a car and a police and problems. So that's all I know on that. Okay. Any other questions from council then before we move on? Thanks. We don't have any workshops tonight. 12 o'clock. Moving on to action items, that's a consent agenda, approval of the June 3rd, 2025 minutes. Council had opportunity to review the minutes, any changes to the minutes?
Move to accept as printed.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Approval of June 17, 2025 claims and warrants numbered. Glasses, please. 52599 through 52655 in the amount of $1,362, $362,701.12. And payroll claim warrants numbered 52591 through 52598, and payroll payable warrants numbered 30232 through 30243 in the amount of $176,106.47.
Move to approve.
Second.
You need discussion at all? As already reported, the high dollar amount has to do with the street project. Obviously, there's a lot of work going on and it costs a lot of money, so. Thank you. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? City Medical Lake fireworks display for July 3rd of 2025. And that is an action item. And page 11. It has been reviewed and approved by Fire District 3 at this point. And so for our ordinance, we also need that permit to be approved by council.
So, oh no, I just had a question. So that is on for the 3rd, not for the 4th?
It's on the 3rd that we're doing the Linger at the Lake on Thursday, and the fireworks will be on that Thursday. So. Plan being that we use staff for the Linger at the Lake, and we're already paying overtime and things, and so don't want to pay double time for staff to help with the fireworks display. So we ended up in conjunction with our Linger at the Lake. So we'll do the same thing as we did on Founder's Day, where we'll have the music festival followed by fireworks on the 3rd. So. Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Move to approve.
Second?
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Fireworks will happen on the 3rd of July. Thank you. Retail firework permit application by Good Stuff Fireworks. That was a late application that came in, so we're getting it in under the wire. Also in your packet. Also approved by Fire District 3. And meeting council's approval for the sale of fireworks.
Move to approve.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Retail fireworks will happen then under Good Stuff Fireworks. Unless the fire chief makes another decision, the show will go on. Public hearings, we have none. Moving on to section 9, resolutions, resolution 25-757, the shift year TIP update. And page 13. And then page 15 does lay out our 6-year transportation improvement plan. This does line up with what Councilmember Farbolt was talking about. Everybody gets all of these TIP projects are. We have to have our plan in, that's submitted, and we can ask for funding off of those. Any questions? And I don't know, Mr. Weathers, you have anything you want to add to that?
Nope, it's that we did workshop. I had a public hearing at the last council meeting, so all the requirements have been met in advance of approving the transportation improvement program. And again, it is a plan. It can be adopted. We're not held to delivering on 100% of it, but it is required for us to be able to file this with the Secretary of Transportation, Department of Transportation with the state, and we'll do that pending approval.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Councilmember Faber moved and second by Councilmember Harbolt. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 25-757 passes unanimously. Resolution 25-758, this is a municipal court agreement. We replaced page 16 through 35 from the packet was struck and replaced with the new pages titled Interlocal Agreement between the City of Airway Heights and the City of Midwood for the provisions of municipal court services and facilities. I have read this, but we did have some last minute minor amendments, but would you go over those for us, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, so and it, just to clarify, was pages 18 on that they replaced the resolution that's page 16 and 17 out stay
That stays.
the same.
Correct.
So looking at the amendments and just for context, the reason it's a very dynamic process and we had agreeable language, but there was some things that not deal breakers, but things that we were hoping to have conversations on with Airway Heights. And those things did develop over the days from the time the packet was put together till now. So that's why most of the things are the same, but you'll find at the bottom of the first page, there is a section that is stricken that was removed because the purpose of the agreement is stated in section 1. And so it was just a redundant section there. A few other just minor grammatical corrections on page 2, simplifying the language. Next major addition is on page 5 of the interlocal agreement, section 3.10. And it adds some language, strikes out upon termination of the Cheney Medical Lake interlocal agreement. This is for the collections process related to courts. It just changes the language to say by June of 2026, or at the time that Airway Heights converts to the new state case management system. So that is a requirement that courts have all been doing But that case management system is not currently in place in Airway Heights, though it is in Cheney. And so this language just accomplishes the same thing, saying instead of, which later on you'll find a $200 per hour manual input charge. So instead of taking cases out of the case management system to manually transfer them, this language allows us the time to allow for that transfer, to allow for the Airway Heights Court to get onto the new case management system. And then it's just a simple transfer and none of those hourly fees would apply. Any questions on that before I move forward?
Collections just have to do, state law allows for collection up to 10 years on unpaid fines. That's all it is.
More minor grammatical corrections on page 6. On page 8 of the interlocal agreement under compensation, you'll find a highlighted filing fee of $1,542. That is inclusive of prosecution and public defense and at-home monitoring, all of which were separate charges with our existing agreement with the city of Cheney. And when you look at the number of cases per year, that dollar value also results in a lower annual charge for court services and is inclusive of, at the same time, inclusive of prosecution and public defense. So it does result in a cost savings to the city medical aid.
That's based on per incident as opposed to like a blanket cost.
Correct.
Per
Right.
case.
Yep. Yeah, so it's not a flat fee per year, which was existing. We did reach out to our partners in Cheney to discuss a per case cost, but did not get that from them. So
Is there a reason why the fee went up from 1285 to 1542?
yes, that's a great question. So when we were discussing originally with Airway Heights, the opportunity, and that was the price that was calculated for 2025.
Okay.
This agreement won't be executable until January 2026. And so these are the estimated high costs of those calculations to happen in their system every September. They'll look at their actuals and come up with the cost per case for the coming year. That since we're not quite at September yet, this is their high estimate of what that cost per case would be for 2026. So
Thank you.
and then moving on, the next change is substantive changes on page 11. And this was at the request of the city. So the indemnification language that was in the agreement drafted by the city of Airway Heights was simpler. And Medical Aid just prefers the more specific language of indemnification. So we asked if they would consider that. And they did. So this is just reflective of the more specific language, both page 11, 12, and 13, speaking of the indemnification for both City of Medical Lake and City of Airway Heights. Any questions on that?
I had a question on, sorry, back on page 9 for 5.2.
Okay.
The compensation for transition, sorry. Do we have any kind of estimate on the amount of cases or anything for a transition, or is this just any active cases? So what kind of filings would need to be transitioned?
So all cases that are filed with Cheney Municipal Court that, tickets written by the sheriff's office are filed in Cheney Municipal Court per our agreement with them. All cases then would transfer to Airway Heights from Cheney. The delay would be on those cases that are in collection, and we're going to wait for the case management system just to push the button to bring those over. So it's all cases. Yes, we do. We did that's how we came up with and knew it would be a cost savings, is we know exactly how many cases are filed, how many are active and open. And so, and it's very easy, it's easy data to get, and we did have that information, so I don't remember the exact number, it's not a lot. But the cases in collection, when you have 10 years, that's probably the bigger chunk right now. So traffic infractions, once they're paid and closed, that case is done. It's over. It's the criminal charges. We don't have a lot of those. I think we had but 30 or something last year, 30 or 32. Usually those are resolved within 6 months to a year. So some of those are likely closed, but then those who go into the therapeutic court model. So if it's a DUI or it's domestic violence, then they're gonna enter into a wraparound services and try to get them in a better place. Those would be open cases, and so those would transfer to Airway, including the probation, then would be managed by Airway Heights too, so they have the full service, just like Cheney did, so probation and therapeutic court model there.
Do we have any kind of ballpark estimation? That $200 an hour, how long it would take to?
A long time, so that's all of that's just for the collection cases, and that's why we opted not to do that. The language says, in June of 2026, the state has a statewide case management system migration. Cheney's already on it, Spokane's already on it, Airway Heights is queued up to go, June of 26. So we'll leave those collections, it's there with Valley Empire Collection Agency. If one of those are paid, that money goes to Cheney Municipal Court and then is remitted to us at the end of every month. That's how the system works. So, anyway, it's too expensive to do for cases that probably are not even going to get collected on. So
And we're not gonna run into an issue with Cheney leaving those there.
they cannot, so it's under the jurisdiction of the court. And so the court oversees that. So Judge Leland and Cheney will continue to oversee that. And so when we send our notice to Cheney, we'll let them know, and we've already been talking with them, but they'll know that that's going to stay with their court just because of the case management issue. So it's nothing that they have to really manage. It's those have been assigned. The collection agency is now the agent to collect on those. There's nothing else happening except money is due. So that's the only, clerks don't do anything. The judge does, if somebody files a motion to recall those out of collection, that can happen. And the fees can be waived and the case can be closed. So some actions can happen, but it's de minimis, and I don't anticipate there being any problem.
Okay.
But I really don't think we want to spend $200 an hour. Every case has to be, bring us your big box of cases, and we have to go in every case, change all the codes.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about is.
So we don't want to do that. We want to wait and say, everything that says Medical Lake now goes over there and changes it'll be a push of a button. It'll be a capture and transfer. So that's where we landed there and thought that was best.
And if I may, and I may, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I know we were discussing options as far as the cases go, that once the case is filed, that it could be that there's an obligation of the court as we pay for that at time of filing.
Right.
So there's an obligation of the court to complete that case because it's paid for in advance.
Correct.
Where there would be some costs incurred by the city is the separate contract for prosecution and public defense that we have existing with those entities that serve in the Cheney court on behalf of Medical Lake. And so we do have the time really to sort that out, whether or not we want to say we could transfer those cases or just let those cases resolve in Cheney court, because the court costs have been covered for those that have been filed previously, and they can see that to fruition. It would just be a matter of the prorated costs for prosecution and defense related to those cases. And we'll get the details of which cases, how many cases will be left open and what the right course of action is
And
between
we
now
will
and
meet
the end
with our
of the year.
prosecutor and see if they're, where are you with the case? Do you want to transfer that? Or do you want to continue it if it's close to being resolved? So there will be a few of those unique one-on-ones. The only thing on the pricing was when we had our meeting today, I thought on the 1542, the language was going to say up to $1,542 because we don't know what Airway Heights' 2026 budget is going to be. And so It was 1,200 based on 2025. They're just starting their budget, just like we are, and we don't know where that's gonna land. This model is based on all of those actual costs. They have COLAs for employees and things like that, and so it will be an actual. So, I would like to, if council would like to ask for an amendment. The only problem I have is that the decision has to be made tonight.
So we could amend the language to add not to exceed in front of the 1,542.
If you think that would be amenable to our partner.
And that based on the discussions we had with them earlier,
I
they
think it
were.
was just an oversight. We did have that specific discussion, so I'd entertain a motion then to add the words, a filing fee of up to 1,542.
To say up to or not to exceed.
Not to exceed is better.
I think not to exceed. They both serve the same
Not to
purpose. That one's a little more definitive. Yeah.
Yeah. Not to
Strike,
exceed.
strike the of and replace it with not to exceed.
Yeah,
So moved.
Second.
any other discussion there? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? I'm so happy. I almost voted. So.
Was that just for the amendment or was that just?
It was just for the
Just
amendment.
That was
change
just for the.
Change
amendment.
language.
I was like, wait a minute.
So-
No, it's just a piece of language.
Yeah. So now entertain a motion for passage or 25,738.
Were you done? Tony?
Oh, was there more?
So there,
No, I
yeah,
don't.
we hadn't completed all of the updates yet. So just
Sorry.
moving through,
Thank you.
that did close out the cost question. Yeah, Councilman, okay. So the indemnification language, we talked about that. It's just more specific, and more in keeping with what, Medical Lake had previous. And then, yeah, really, I guess just the last, bits is some minor grammatical additions, corrections. And so, yeah, those are the changes from what you saw, and we're able to read. Everything else is the same.
Who's got one?
I got an unrelated question. I was just curious, do we know if Norway Heights has a veterans court program?
Their therapeutic court program encompasses all of those, and so it's all specialty court, and every case is treated like a specialty court situation. So yes, if they're a veteran, they're accessing veteran services. If it's a DUI court, if it's domestic violence, so they're accessing those family services. So yes, not specifically. They don't have enough cases to set up just a veterans court, but they do. That's the whole idea with the therapeutic court model, is that it brings in, and every case is uniquely, it has a needs assessment. And that's one of the questions, is the military service and then access to resources for those.
Curious.
No, it's a great question.
Yeah, and that was kind of along my question too. I mean, we've had some great presentations by Chidi about their community court and what they've done. And so moving now, I can see they have a community court and it does encompass quite a bit. Did you feel, I mean, you've had some experience with
I
this.
do. I know Judge Carroll very well, their probation officer. I hired her from Sheeny, and then she went over there. Her name is Julia Fafara. She's fantastic. But anyway, they have a very robust, similar model, almost identical, actually. And they have more cases too. And so they have larger group sessions and some other access to other expanded resources that maybe Cheney doesn't have. But really, this wasn't because of poor work being done by Cheney. This is just two things. It's extremely cost effective. We didn't get per case costs from Cheney. And this aligns with the idea of wanting to move to a regional court model. And we believe Cheney will come on board too, that will eventually end up with the West Plains regional. So this is just that next step. They're not exactly situated as we are. They have different notice and different requirements. They contract with district court, and they have their own established. We're just contracting with them. So they have other things, and I can't speak for Cheney. I haven't talked to them, but these are things that we've talked about for many years. And I think this is a step in that direction.
Who's the judge over there?
In Airway is Judge Garrell. GERL. So she came in as a Rule 9 when I was in Cheney Municipal Court, so I kind of feel like I trained her up, but you know, she thinks she trained me, but anyway, she's excellent judge, and yeah, I don't have any hesitation at all. I know their staff, and excellent staff, just the same Cheney has excellent staff, excellent judge. Yeah, all of that is comparable. It's just our next cost saving and moving toward that regional model. So
I did the math earlier in finance committee. It'll be about $40,000 savings per year, not having to pay for the prosecutor and the public defender separately.
which is unique that it would be included. It really is a gift.
Good, I'll do it. Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? Great discussion, by the way. Thank you so much. Nothing else then? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you so much. Okay, we have no ordinances. No executive session that I'm aware of. No emergency ordinances. Any upcoming agenda items, council, anything on your minds?
Cameras and
Stormwater.
the pier.
Well, the doc, correct. Yeah,
I just wondering if
Actually-
Updates,
we
yeah.
have any updates.
if I may, yeah, thank you, Councilmember Spears. So
Sure.
I just got an email today from our friends at the Real Time Crime Center who have provided their recommendations for the cameras and locations. And so I'll be unpacking that to bring forth those recommendations. And very much looking forward to that. And on the Coney Island dock, we are working with the contractor who is, we've got a pre-construction meeting scheduled for June 30th. The work should commence that week and should be wrapped up in advance of 4th of July.
Oh, wow.
That's the plan. So
Okay.
yeah, really quick turnaround. The schedule opened up and stars are aligning. Things are looking good for now to move forward with getting that delivered here in the very near future.
I look forward to bringing my kayaks down on the float then.
Nice.
Wonderful.
Sweet.
Wonderful. Any other questions or anything else on agenda items that we can think of? We'll keep you updated on those things. All that said, in last call then, interested citizen comment, anybody online or in the room that would like to comment or has a question for council that take under consideration. Going once, going twice. Hearing none, I would entertain.
It's good.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
It's not even something.